Walk and talk, walk and talk. Ask questions, keep moving, catch the breeze, come on.
So next door, we're just putting the stuff that's on, as soon as we
Ew, dog.
plywood on the roof, then we start working on the inside of the home. So the first thing we start with, we start laying out all the interior partitions. We use metal studs for an obvious reason. We have no warpage, shrinkage, anything like that, which we feel is much better than wood. We used wood years and years ago, and you've got to come back and do a curved cut, straighten them all out, and then if you've ever lived up north, you got to, after a year, you got a bunch of nail pops and tape pulls in your finish. That alleviates all that problem in this climate. All the furring on the wall, that's all these green things that we T-nail into the block. That's to hold all the insulation. We'll start, first guy in is the plumber and the HVAC. They need the most room. You'll notice the red piping here. We don't use copper anymore. This is called PEX. It's kind of the new wave of plumbing. Advantages, disadvantages. As Fort Lauderdale is aging, I noticed, I see more and more companies in the newspaper that are tunneling under homes because the cast iron lines have now 60 years old, they're done, they've collapsed. And as opposed to coming into a finished home and cutting slots in your floor and redoing the plumbing, they now tunnel under your home and backfill it, compact it, and that's a very expensive operation. And then what's happening is the copper's starting to fail with the tannic in the water and certain other chemicals. After 60 years, that starts to wear out. And if you'll notice on the copper plumbing, and this is probably way too much detail, but every time we make a corner or something, there's a change in course of direction. It's a T or a 90. Well, you've got to sweat the joint, so you've got two joints to sweat. Well, the history on that is the solder's full of lead. We don't use lead anymore, so they've got to substitute composition for that. And the flux that they use, that wet stuff to have the solder flow in and anneal the two pieces, that's been changed over the years. So it's very hard now. The old plumbers that were used to all the lead, that worked very well. And then they took the lead out, and that was a problem. So our next generation of plumbers, they were doing okay with that. But it became a problem. PEX came along. We were the last with GL Homes to switch over to this because we were just a bunch of tree huggers and said, listen, this is the way we do it with copper, and then we think we're just going to stick with it. It worked pretty well. We probably built we're probably up with Minto, we're probably somewhere around 60 or 70,000 homes. So it worked pretty well for us. The advantage to PEX is you'll notice there's no connections. You just freewheel it all throughout. The only time you make the connection is when we're not that far along. We may see it further down as you come out the wall. So our home service has gone to 0 with plumbing leaks, because when they put the wall board on, obviously the guy who's screwing the wall board, and this is why you see plates everywhere like here, there could be a copper line. This is for a refrigerator. This is for the ice line, for the refrigerator. So when the guy's putting that sheet of drywall and he's putting screws into here to hold the drywall, if that copper line happens to be close to that, he'll pick that up. And now he's guessing where these, not guessing, but he's got an idea where it is. I can swear to God, when we put that screw in that pipe, it's watertight up until about, you can almost set your watch to it, about 14 months. And you'll see the baseboard start to discolor, and you know that it's rusted and it's just leaking, and within a month that thing will go and this place will be underwater. So with the PEX, we don't have all the connections, and we can put the PEX everywhere where the screws are not. So that's worked out, and that's one of the sort of new, and this PEX isn't new, it's been around for I'm gonna say, well, you've heard this, the horror stories of polybutylene. Well, PEX is the latest of that. We had used that. We did about 5,500 units and never had a problem. And the reason we never had a problem was there's lawsuits in the hundreds of millions of dollars out there today. With the polybutylene, when they put it together, they took a clamp and they would squeeze the coupling as opposed to soldering it. So you have a metal joint with polybutylene, which is flexible, and then you take this collar and you squeeze it. Well, that works great as long as you're calibrating every day your device that squeezes it, because you can't over squeeze it, you can't under squeeze it. What was happening is the plumbers at the end of the day would never recalibrate their tools. So after a couple years, those things would let loose. And in the day when we were using it, we had a small plumbing outfit. There was a couple master plumbers and their sons, and they were just religiously doing it. We never had a problem. And that's some of the story behind it. So any questions here on any of the mechanical? We'll get in this. The electrician hasn't been here yet. He's about to get in here. Okay. We'll get on down here. What's that?
I'm telling you, ask questions.
We'll get into the whole home tour.
Yeah. He's checking it to get to the second floor. Just to show you guys how that looks like. Depending on the outfit, yeah.
So they put the wood flooring and then they put a concrete layer on it?
That's good. That's the case.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually true. It's either red or blue.
So now it's green. Red mechanical engineering.
Funny you say that, because where we're going, they're negotiating a deal with the solar park that has dedicated portion to go put in the solar.
Maybe. Okay.
So you had the question about
Okay, so if anybody's interested to understand what gypcrete is all about, this unit is gyp treated on the second floor. What it is, it's got the viscosity just literally pump it in like water, it finds its own level, which makes it very nice for putting down flooring, tile, that type of thing. It also acts as a, it does have some fire resistivity properties to it, and as well as sound. So these are some of the things that we do that most don't. You know, we have our 2-hour separation between units. We put the gypcrete in. All our windows are 140-mile high velocity impact glass, as well as the doors. So we have a complete envelope for hurricane protection. So anybody wanting to see gypcrete, I mean, it looks just like concrete. It's 3/4 of an inch. They're pouring it down here, otherwise I'd take you in. But it's literally like water, and it just flows off. It sets up in about 4 hours. You can walk on it.
How do you guys structure like your like a Gantt chart, like your workload? So I just saw the electrician on the other side. Is he doing one condo thoroughly and then moving on to the next one?
They'll break it down. Some guy will come in and do all the primary, and other guy will do the secondary surveys and stuff. Now, when you mentioned the Gantt chart, somebody asked me about, you know, the difference between high-rise and low-rise. Well, when we did the high-rise, I mean, we had very sophisticated schedule programs, and that's the only way you can run the job. I mean, it's like we got a transport coming in with 60 tons of steel. He's got 45 minutes to get that off with the crane. So we're booking the crane, we're booking the transportation company and the suppliers, and then he's got to go out because we got a pour coming right in behind.